he heard the sob. A scream might have been better. At least you are certain when you've heard a scream. A faint sob is something you have to wait to hear again because you can't be sure. He raised his lantern in a shaking hand. There shouldn't be anyone in here. The place was securely locked. No one could get in. Or, now he came to think about it, out. He wished he hadn't thought about it. He was in the basement, which was not among the most scary places on his round. It was mostly just old shelves and drawers, full of the things that were almost, but very definitely not entirely, thrown away. Museums don't like things to be thrown away, in case they turn out to be very important later on. Another sob, and a sound like the scraping of pottery? A rat, then, somewhere on the rear shelves? Rats didn't sob, did they? "Look, I don't want to have to come in there and get you," said Scattering with heartfelt accuracy. And the shelves exploded. It seemed to him to happen in slow motion, bits of pottery and statues spreading out as they drifted towards him. He went over backwards, and the expanding cloud passing overhead crashed into the shelves on the other side of the room, which were demolished. Scattering lay on the floor in the dark, unable to move, expecting at any moment to be torn apart by the phantoms bubbling up from his imagination. The day staff found him there in the morning, deeply asleep and covered in dust. They listened to his garbled explanation, treated him kindly, and agreed that a different career might suit his temperament. They wondered for a while about what he had been up to, night watchmen being rather puzzling people at the best of times, but put it out of their heads, because of the find. Mr. Scattering then got a job in a pet shop in Pellycool Steps, but left after 3 days because the way the kittens stared at him gave him nightmares. The world can be very cruel to some people, but he never told anyone about the gloriously glittering lady holding a large ball over her head who smiled at him before she vanished. He did not want people to think he was strange. But perhaps it is time to talk about beds. Lectrology, the study of the bed and its associated surroundings, can be extremely useful and tell you a great deal about the owner, even if it's only that they are a very knowing and savvy installations artist. The bed of Arch-Chancellor Ridcully of Unseen University, for example, is at the very least a bed and a half, being an 8-poster. It encompasses a small library and a bar, and artfully includes a shut-away privy of mahogany and brass throughout, to save those long, cold, nocturnal excursions with their concomitant risk of tripping over slippers, empty bottles, shoes, and all the other barriers presented to a man in the dark who is praying that the next thing that stubs his toe will be porcelain, or at least easy to clean. The bed of Trevor Likely is anywhere. A friend's floor, in the hayloft of any stable that has been left unlocked, which is usually a much more fragrant option, or in a room of an empty house, though there are precious few of those these days. Or he sleeps at work, but he is always careful about that, because old man Smeems never seems to sleep at all and might catch him at any time. Trev can sleep anywhere, and does. Glenda sleeps in an ancient iron bed.
That is to say, Glenda officially sleeps in the old iron bedstead. In reality, most of her sleeping is done in a huge and ancient armchair in the night kitchen, where she has very nearly mastered the art of doing without proper sleep altogether. So many crumbs, spoons, bits of pie dough, books and spilt drinks have gone down the sides of the cushions of that chair that it might well now harbour a small, thriving civilization.
Whose springs and mattress have gently and kindly shaped themselves around her over the years, leaving a generous depression. The bottom of this catenary couch is held off the floor by a mulch of very cheap, yellowing romantic novels of the kind to which